Trust is the foundation of every marriage. But what happens when that trust starts to crack? I am Freya, and this is the story of how I discovered the lies that threatened to destroy my family, and how I found the strength to fight for the truth. I never imagined that my life could reach this point. When I met Adrian, it was as if I had met my Prince Charming. He was my high school sweetheart, my partner of all hours, and someone I believed was incapable of letting me down. We married young, full of dreams and promises of a perfect life. But over time, I realized that even the most beautiful castles can hide deep cracks. It was an ordinary night, one of those when you feel that exhaustion will knock you down before you even end the day. The 3 children were finally in bed, after an epic battle involving pajamas, toothbrushes and monster stories. I sat on the couch with a sigh, the silence of the house falling on me like a weight. I picked up the phone and called Adrian. "Hi, love," he answered, his voice sounding distracted. "Are you still in the office?" I asked, trying to hide the fatigue in my voice. "Yes, a lot of work. I don't know what time I'm going to leave." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. "You've been working so hard. I and the children miss him." There was a short but heavy silence before he answered. "I know, Freya. I promise I'll make it up to you. It's just a phase." I hung up the phone with the feeling that something was wrong, but I didn't know exactly what. Adrian was always dedicated to his work, and I believed that he did everything for us. But that night, looking at the ceiling of the room, a doubt was born. It was small, almost imperceptible, but it was there, eating away at me slowly. And it was this doubt that led me to Dr. Eileen's office a few weeks later. She was a calm, soft-spoken woman, and during our conversations, I began to release the weight I was carrying. "Freya," she said one day with a curious smile, "have you ever wondered if everything they tell you is true?" My life from that moment on would never be the same. After that session with Dr. Eileen, I began to pay attention to details that had previously gone unnoticed. It wasn't that I thought Adrian was lying, but her words stuck in my mind. Sometimes people show the truth in subtle ways. You just have to learn to observe. That night, Adrian arrived late again. I had already put the kids to bed and was folding clothes in the living room when I heard the door open. He entered, still in that impeccable suit, but with an air of fatigue that seemed more emotional than physical. "Hi," he said, dropping the briefcase on the floor and giving me a quick kiss on the forehead. "Hi," I replied, watching him as he loosened his tie. "How was the work?" He hesitated for a second I would never have noticed before. "Tiring. We are finalizing a large project. But it will be worth it." I shook my head, pretending to be satisfied with the answer, but something inside me stirred. The children missed him. "Hope has drawn a poster for you, saying that he is the best daddy in the world." Adrian stopped, visibly disconcerted. "Oh, I'll see it tomorrow. I'm dead today." I smiled, but inside, a flame of irritation began to burn. He barely looked at his children. Did they feel that too? Later in bed, I looked at Adrian sleeping next to me. He seemed calm, but I was awake, with Dr. Eileen's words echoing in my head. "If you want answers, Freya, ask in a roundabout way. The lies, if any, will emerge effortlessly." The next day I decided it was time to test this. And what I discovered would shake everything I believed about the man with whom I shared my life. The next morning, Adrian seemed more relaxed, as if the tension from the night before had evaporated. I, on the other hand, felt like a rubber band stretched to the limit. As he hurriedly drank coffee, ready for another day at work, I took the opportunity to observe. It was strange how small gestures, which had once seemed so natural, now had a different weight. "Honey, are you going to be late again today?" I asked casually, as I put Hope's coffee on the table. He looked up from his phone, hesitated, again that almost imperceptible moment, and smiled. "Probably. There is an important meeting in the late afternoon." "Got it. And which customer is it this time?" I ventured, trying to sound curious, not suspicious. He blinked a few times, as if processing the question, and shrugged. "Oh, it's a new customer. Nothing too exciting, but the team is excited." "That's good. Who knows, maybe one day I'll meet these people with whom you spend so much time." He laughed, but the sound came out forced. "Of course, when everything calms down, we schedule something." The answer seemed rehearsed, like those phrases you keep in your pocket to get out of uncomfortable situations. I felt a knot tighten my stomach. When Adrian left, I kissed the kids and took them to school. Then I went straight to Dr. Eileen's office. "I need to know, Eileen. How do I find out if he's hiding something?" She looked at me with that calm that was almost annoying and said, "You've already started, Freya. Keep watching. And when you feel ready, ask questions he doesn't expect." What I didn't know is that this next question would change everything. After the session with Dr. Eileen, I left the office with a head full of doubts and a new plan. I needed to be sure, and that required patience. My heart said that Adrian wasn't capable of truly betraying me, but my mind, now armed with those new tools, couldn't ignore the signs. That night, Adrian came home early, which was a surprise. He brought flowers, something he hadn't done in months. "I thought you'd like it," he said, handing the bouquet with a half-shy smile. "Thank you," I replied, feeling the weight of the gesture. Was it genuine affection or blame? While I was preparing dinner, Adrian sat in the living room with the kids, helping Chris with a math homework. The scene looked like something out of a Happy Family commercial, but I couldn't relax. Over dinner, I took the opportunity to test what Eileen suggested. Ask unexpected questions. "Adrian, you commented on that new client this morning. What's the name of the company anyway?" He paused for a moment, the fork on its way to his mouth. "Oh yes, Henders and Company. Interesting. Are they based here or in the neighboring city?" "I think it's right here," he replied, looking away from the food. An automatic response, but hesitation before it was enough to activate my distrust. Later, while Adrian was taking a shower, I grabbed his coat to hang it up. In my pocket, I found a receipt from a restaurant I didn't know, dated that same afternoon. It was no ordinary work lunch. The name at the bottom was for a place that served French cuisine, too intimate and expensive for corporate meetings. The game was just beginning. With the restaurant receipt in hand, my head was spinning. Who did Adrian want to impress in such a sophisticated place? I took a deep breath and put the paper in my pants pocket. It was not time to confront him. Well, I needed more pieces of this puzzle before I threw everything on the table. That night, lying next to him, I stared at the ceiling, while Adrian seemed to sleep soundly. Or maybe he was faking it like me. In the morning, he got up early as usual, and said goodbye with a quick kiss on the forehead, that usual carefree smile. As soon as he left, I called the restaurant. "Good morning, I'd like to confirm a reservation from yesterday afternoon," I improvised in a polite tone. The attendant responded promptly. "Course. In whose name would it be?" I swallowed hard. "Adrian Santos." "Yes. Table for 2 people at 2 p.m. The confirmation hit me like a punch. 2 people. My heart seemed to want to come out of my mouth. "Thank you," I mumbled, hanging up the phone with shaking hands. I spent the day trying to stay calm. I picked up the kids from school, prepared dinner, and smiled as if nothing was wrong. Adrian arrived on time, his suit impeccable, his cell phone in hand. Full day, he commented as he dropped his briefcase on the couch. Later, when the children were already in bed, I approached him in the living room. Adrian, did you go out to lunch yesterday? I asked casually, as if I didn't want anything. He looked up from his phone, surprised. Oh yes, with the work people. Why? Curiosity, I lied, forcing a smile. As he returned to his cell phone, my mind was buzzing. And now I knew how to catch it. The next day, I woke up with a different determination. Adrian might have been an excellent storyteller, but now I had an ally. Dr. Eileen and her infallible tactics. If he was lying, I would find out. I waited for breakfast, while he took his usual hurried sip of coffee. He wore the blue shirt I loved, matching the discreet tie. Any plans for lunch today? I asked casually, chopping an apple for the kids. He stopped for a second, setting the clock. Nothing special. I'll probably only eat at the office. Why? Oh, nothing, I replied, feigning disinterest. I just thought about taking you something. A treat in the middle of the day. He laughed, but his laugh sounded forced. No need, Freya. I'm fine. In fact, I don't even know if I'll have time to eat properly. Bingo. Another lie, probably. I kept smiling, but inside I was already 1,000. As soon as he left, I got dressed quickly, left the kids with my sister and went to the building where he worked. I parked across the street and waited. It didn't take long. At 1 p.m. sharp he left, but not alone. A woman accompanied him. She was beautiful in an elegant way, wearing an impeccable blazer and high heels that seemed to echo down the sidewalk. The two entered the same expensive restaurant last time. My hands sweated on the steering wheel, but I stood there, watching. They talked animatedly like old friends or something else. When they left, an hour later, he opened the door of the taxi for her. Like a true gentleman. My heart tightened. The doubt became certainty. He was hiding something. But now, I knew I couldn't wait any longer. It was time to confront the man who claimed to love me. That night, as Adrian walked through the door with his usual smile and perfectly aligned suit, my head was in chaos. On the outside I kept the facade. A tired wife, but happy that he was home. Inside it was a battlefield. "Hi, love," he said, leaning in to give me a kiss on the forehead. Her perfume seemed stronger than usual, and it only annoyed me more. "Hi," I replied, trying to keep the tone neutral. Dined out. He hesitated for a split second. Just a quick sandwich at the diner near the office. There it was again, the easy lie. I could almost hear Dr. Eileen's voice in my head, pointing out every signal. He looked away, scratched his neck, and his voice came out a little higher than usual. "Is that so?" I replied, crossing my arms. My tone now carried the weight of suspicion. "Yes," he replied, already taking off his shoes and fleeing to the couch, as if trying to escape the conversation. I followed him, sitting in the armchair in front of him. "So who was the woman who had lunch with you today?" Adrian froze. Literally, it came to a standstill in the middle of a movement. Then he looked at me as if I had just spoken in another language. "What are you talking about, Freya?" "Don't do that, Adrian." My voice came out firm, almost hoarse from tension. "Saw you. In the restaurant. Talking, laughing. Who is she?" He opened his mouth to speak, but not a word came out. That silence was enough to confirm everything I feared. "If you don't start telling me the truth now," I continued, my heart racing, "I'll find out anyway. And it's not going to be pretty." Finally he sighed. And I knew I was about to hear something that would change everything. Adrian ran his hands over his face, as if trying to erase the pressure stamped there. His silence hurt me more than any words. It wasn't just the absence of sound, it was the weight of guilt that hung between us. "Freya, it's not what you're thinking," he began, his voice low and hesitant. Then explain, Adrian. Who is she? My question came out more as a requirement. My heart was beating so loudly that I could barely hear my own voice. It's a co-worker, he said, finally looking up at me. She is new to the company. I was showing her the place, talking about projects. That's all. Talking. And it had to be in an expensive restaurant, in the middle of the afternoon. You've never had time for lunch like this with me. I didn't even notice when my voice got louder, but I didn't care anymore. He shook his head, desperately trying to justify himself. Freya, I swear, there's nothing going on. I wanted to impress a new customer. It was a business lunch. Client or colleague, Adrian. Decide, because you're getting tangled up, I snapped, without mercy. I felt the anger grow with each hesitation from him. He snorted, getting up from the couch and running his hand through his hair. Okay, I should have told you. It was a bad decision, but it's nothing more than that. I swear by everything that is most sacred. The look in his eyes seemed sincere, but how to trust after so much mismatch? If you have nothing to hide, then prove it to me, Adrian. Not with words but with attitudes. I'm tired of being treated like an idiot. He nodded slowly, his expression dejected. I'll prove it to you. Just don't give up on me, Freya. I wanted to believe it, but doubt had already dug a deep hole in my chest. After that conversation, the house became strangely quiet. Adrian seemed determined to win back my trust. In the following days, he made a point of coming home early from work, helped with dinner, and even put the children to sleep a few times. It was as if he wanted to make up for all the missing moments at once. But despite his actions, something still bothered me. It was like that feeling we have when we know there's a missing piece in the puzzle, but we can't find where it ended up. One night, while he was washing the dishes in the kitchen, I decided to investigate. I took his cell phone that was charging at the counter. My heart was beating so fast that it felt like I was stealing something. Freya, what are you doing? His voice took me by surprise. I just wanted to see some pictures of the kids, I improvised, trying to sound casual. He came to me, wiping his hands on a tea towel. You can ask. I'll show you anything you want. You don't need to peek. I returned the phone without resisting, but something in that answer made me even more uneasy. Why was he so calm? Maybe it was just my paranoia, but what if it wasn't? Later, when Adrian finally fell asleep, I sat up in bed with my laptop and started looking for information about this colleague at work. It didn't take long to find her profile. Beautiful, young, and full of cryptic posts that looked indirect. Intense day with someone special, read the last post. My breathing stopped. The photo was of a wine glass and a male hand that was undoubtedly Adrian's. The floor seemed to disappear from under me. What to do with it now? My world was beginning to fall apart again. I didn't sleep that night. I kept staring at the ceiling, the image of that post hammering my mind. Adrian snored beside me, oblivious to the storm that swirled inside me. Was I playing too much? Or were the pieces finally falling into place? In the morning, as he was getting ready for work, I decided I couldn't ignore it. Adrian, I began, trying to keep my voice steady. Who is that Mariana? He stopped in the middle of the gesture of adjusting his tie and looked at me confused. Mariana? Why are you asking that? I crossed my arms, keeping my gaze fixed on him. I saw a post from her yesterday. Seemed too intimate. With you. He let out a sigh, shaking his head. Freya, you're seeing things where there aren't any. Mariana is just a colleague, friend from work. She posts everything she does and sometimes exaggerates, but that doesn't mean anything. A friend. My voice went up an octave. And since when do friends go out for wine on the sly? Adrian sighed again, as if he was tired of the conversation before it even began. I don't know what photo this is, but if you want to know, we left with the office group. It wasn't just me and her. I wanted to believe it. Had to believe. But something about his way avoided my gaze, and the way he rubbed the back of his neck as he spoke seemed to give him away. You're not telling me everything, I whispered, feeling the lump in my throat tighten. He came closer, trying to take my hand, but I pulled away. Freya, don't do that. Don't let your head create things. I love you, and that's what matters. But his words were no longer enough. I knew I needed more. And this time, I wouldn't let doubt overwhelm me. That night, the tension was palpable. The house, which had once seemed to be our refuge, now felt colder, more distant. Adrian tried to act like everything was fine, but I knew he was hiding behind a facade, trying to convince me that things were normal. But I could no longer ignore the truth. Before he could say anything, I stared at him. I went to the office today, Adrian. He looked at me, his eyes narrowing. What do you mean by that? I saw you, I continued, the anger beginning to rise like wildfire. I saw you going out with your friends. I wasn't at work, I was in a bar. And you? You looked at Mariana's cell phone, and she looked at yours. It wasn't just a friendship, it was something more. The silence that followed was dense. Adrian was paralyzed, as if he was trying to find a way out, something he could say to reverse the situation. But I didn't want any more excuses. I wanted the truth. He looked away, and it was enough. Already knew. Freya, calm down. Hey. I did a stupid thing. My heart pounded, more out of disgust than anger. Stupid. You betrayed me, Adrian. He looked shocked, as if the words actually had a weight he didn't expect. It wasn't like that. I never meant to hurt you, but I let myself go. Did you let me go? I laughed, but it wasn't a laugh of humor, it was a laugh of pain. You made a choice, Adrian. And now the choice is mine. What are you going to do to fix it? He was silent, and the answer I needed to hear didn't come. I knew that his words now meant nothing else. The silence in the room was unbearable. I was standing there in front of Adrian, my husband, who had seemed to be the pillar of my life for so long. Now he was a pile of broken promises and broken lies. And as much as I wanted to scream, cry, or even get out of there, I could only think of one thing. Why did he do it? He approached slowly, his eyes searching for mine, as if trying to convince me of something he already knew. Freya, please. Listen to me. I messed up, but I love you. I just need a chance to show that I can change. My breathing became heavy, but I didn't want to give in. Love you. How can someone who says he loves do that? Anger bubbled up inside me, but I needed to stay in control. It was no longer just about me, but about our family, about our children. You betrayed me, Adrian. I spoke, almost whispering, as if the words had a weight I couldn't carry. And now you come with this talk of give it a chance. What has changed? You still go to work and meet with her, don't you? He was quiet, his expression now one of guilt. I saw the pain in his eyes, but it didn't make the slightest difference. The pain I felt was greater, deeper. I don't want to be that person anymore, Freya. Please give me a chance to show that I can be the man you've always wanted. I shook my head. I don't know, Adrian. I really don't know. The worst of all was that I felt the love he still had for me, but the trust. Trust was something he could never regain. That night, the silence between us seemed even heavier. I was lying on the bed, facing the wall, and he was on the other side trying to sleep, but I knew his thoughts were just as agitated as mine. The trust that existed between us before that fateful day was already shattered, like broken glass strewn across the floor. I could no longer look at him as before. Every word he said sounded hollow to me, and even the gestures of affection seemed forced. He may say he loves, but how can I believe it? The sound of the alarm clock ringing pulled me out of my daze, and with a grueling routine ahead, I had to act like everything was normal. I got the kids ready for school, prepared breakfast, did everything as usual. But deep down, my heart was in pieces, every piece pulling away from Adrian every minute. He tried to help me in the kitchen, but his presence was no longer comfortable. It was strange. Does he really care? Or is all this just a desperate attempt to save the facade? Over coffee, he tried to talk, tried to explain one more time, but I couldn't hear anymore. With each word, a new wave of skepticism invaded me. Freya, I know you're hurt, but we need to talk about the future. We need a plan, he said, with that tone of someone who still believes that everything can go back to the way it was before. I looked at him, not knowing what to say. What else could I expect from him? A miracle. I'm not the same anymore. Trust, like a broken bridge, would not be rebuilt in a simple apology. The phone rang. I didn't even have to look at the screen to know who it was. Adrian. The man I knew, the man who now seemed to be a stranger to me. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "Hi, love," he said, his voice strained, as if he knew everything between us was falling apart. "We need to talk, Freya." I let out my breath. I didn't know if I had the strength to hear his apologies again, or if he would repeat the same story he already knew. I don't know if I can stand to hear once again that this is all just a mistake, Adrian. I'm no longer the woman who blindly trusts you. I'm no longer the woman who waits for empty promises, I replied, the tone of my voice getting firmer and farther away. He was silent, which made me think that perhaps he knew I was starting to really pull away. Disappointment had taken hold of me, and the worst of all was knowing that he still didn't understand the gravity of it all. He didn't understand the extent of the pain I felt. "Freya, please, I want to fix everything. I can prove that I can be the man you deserve. But for that, you need to give me a chance," he pleaded. But the request sounded to me like a mere repetition of an old movie, a movie I no longer wanted to watch. It's not about what you can or can't taste, Adrian. It's about what you've already destroyed and the pain you've caused. What was broken may no longer be repaired. "Not everything has a return," I said, my voice breaking but resolute. Turned off. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was taking control. The silence after our last conversation weighed heavily in the air, like a heavy cloud ready to collapse. I was trying to find some kind of clarity in the midst of the emotional turmoil I found myself immersed in. What I knew for sure was that I couldn't go on living a lie. I couldn't go down a path of unfulfilled promises. The next morning, after putting the children in school, I felt that I needed to take a decisive step. Whatever it was, I would no longer submit to what was easy, to what was expected of me. I then decided to go to Adrian's office. I didn't know what I expected to find, but something inside me told me that he had to understand the magnitude of what was happening. When I got there, I found him entering the building. His gaze met mine for a brief moment, and soon he turned away, as if he could no longer face me head-on. That simple gesture cut me off, more than any words he could say. "Can we talk?" I asked, trying to stay calm, but my voice was shaky. He hesitated for a moment, before leading me to a farther corner. "Freya, I know I hurt you, but you need to understand that sometimes things are not so simple. I never meant to hurt you. I was lost," he said, his voice broken. I looked at him deeply, my heart tightened, but my mind was steady. "The truth, Adrian, is not about what you want. It's about what you've done. And what will he do from now on?" He lowered his head, and in that moment, he knew that the words were just the beginning of a battle that he still didn't know how to end. Night had fallen, and the weight of the conversation from earlier still hung over us. Adrian had no more answers ready. His expression, once confident and unbeatable, was now fragile, and something inside me knew that he could no longer hide the secrets that were eating away at what was left of our relationship. I needed more than empty promises. Needed action, real change. The problem wasn't what he said, but what he wasn't doing to prove that he loved me, that he still believed in us. And somewhere deep in my soul, I knew he was close to giving up trying. Adrian, if you really want to save what's left of all this, then we need to be honest, really. And I'm not just talking about words. I need to see the attitudes. I need to see you. Commit, as I committed to fight for us, for our family, I said, trying to control the anger that threatened to boil over. He was silent for a while, his eyes fixed on the void, as if he was trying to gather the strength to compose himself. Finally, he looked into my eyes with an intensity he had never seen before. I love you, Freya. But for a long time I was lost. I thought that the work, the success, all of that was what mattered. I saw you every day alone, carrying the weight of everything, and I didn't realize it. I didn't know how to be present anymore. But you're right. If you don't do it now, it will be too late. I looked at him, my heart sinking. Could he really change? Or is it too late? Silence crept through the house as Adrian sat next to me. The smell of hot coffee still hung in the air, but it seemed in contrast to the tension that enveloped us. Something had changed between us, and I didn't know if it was a change for good or for bad. I know I got lost, Freya. I know I've failed you and our family, and it's hard to believe you still want to try. I don't deserve this, but I'll do everything to fix it. His voice was hoarse, and his eyes didn't move away from mine, as if looking for a chance, a gap to prove that he could be the man I had been waiting for. I took a deep breath. The pain was there, still pulsating, but something inside me told me that it wouldn't be fair to give up so easily. I was so tired of feeling invisible, but I also knew that what we were experiencing, that crude moment, was perhaps the last chance for something real to happen between us. Adrian, it's not about easy forgiveness. I can't just forget the months, the years when I looked for you and didn't find you, in which I lived alone, even though I had you by my side. My voice trembled, but I didn't want to be silent. He needed to listen, to feel the weight of the words, to understand that reconstruction would be slow and painful. I'll show you, Freya. Every day, with every gesture, I will show you that I deserve your trust again, he insisted, taking my hand. The fear was still there, but a small and hopeful part of me felt that maybe we could find a way back. It wasn't going to be easy, but maybe it was the only path worth following. The following days were a roller coaster. Adrian made an effort to be more present, but the shadow of the lie still hung over us, like a weight impossible to ignore. I wanted to believe in him, I wanted to see change, but something inside me told me that the lost trust would not be easily rebuilt. One night, while I was in the kitchen trying to make dinner in the chaos, Adrian walked in, looking more tired than ever. Freya, he said, his voice hesitant, we need to talk. I looked at him, a mixture of anger and longing on my face. Now you want to talk? After everything that's happened, do you think we have anything to say? He sighed and took a step towards me. I know words will never be enough, but what happened in the past, with the games and the lies, was an attempt to escape the pressure. I was wrong, Freya. And if I could go back, I would have done everything differently. I turned around, the anger now replaced by immense pain. Don't you see, Adrian? It's not just about the games or the lies. It's about what you ceased to be to me. You have drifted away, not only physically but emotionally. And I continued, alone, trying to fill in the voids. The silence between us dragged on, dense, heavy. He was there in front of me, trying to justify himself, but his words could not erase what had happened. "I understand, Freya," he muttered, "but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to fix what's broken." I looked at him, my heart divided. "I don't know either, Adrian. But we cannot continue like this. The only thing I know is that now everything depends on you." That conversation was etched in my mind like a scar, but at the same time, something inside me began to change. I knew that Adrian could not erase the past, but he was willing to fight for us. The question that remained was, did I still want to fight too? The days passed in a heavy silence. He tried, yes, to be more present, more attentive, but something in me still didn't open up completely. How could he? The weight of the lies still held me. The doubt never seemed to completely go away. It was a rainy morning when I decided it was time to do my part. I couldn't continue in this limbo, hoping that Adrian would be the only one to change. I also needed to change. I needed to find my own peace, regardless of what happened to our marriage. I called Adrian to talk again, but this time, without the pressure of anger or resentment. Just the two of us. "Adrian, I don't know if I can move on without getting rid of what still holds me back. I need to trust myself again, not just you." He looked at me, his eyes filled with silent pain. "I understand, Freya. Just give me a chance. I know I made a mistake, but I want to show you that I'm capable of change." I took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of fear and relief. Whatever happened, I couldn't live with doubt any longer. What I wanted was true for myself and for our family. And it was there at that moment that I finally realized. The truth is not just about the other. Sometimes it's about ourselves. And maybe together we could find ours. Truth, as I learned, is a double-edged sword. It cuts deep, tears out pieces of us that we didn't even know were there, hidden under layers of lies and illusions. But at the same time, truth also has the power to heal. At least I hoped it would be like that. The following days were a test. Adrian was trying, but the weight of the words we exchanged still hung over us, like a cloud about to collapse. I didn't want the lies to destroy everything, but I didn't know if I could erase the fear of being betrayed again. On a night when the house was quieter than usual, Adrian asked me to talk. It was strange how hard he was trying. "Freya, I know I hurt you and I don't expect you to forgive me right away. But I want to show you every day that I can be the man you need." I looked at him, looking for any sign that he was being sincere. But it wasn't what he said that touched me. It was the way he looked at me. It was a plea. Not that of a husband asking for forgiveness, but of a man who finally understood what was at stake. "I don't know if I can trust like I used to," he said, his voice trembling. "But I want to try. Hey, I love you, Adrian." He held my hands, his breathing heavy. "I love you too, Freya. I just want us to move forward together." And it was there, in the midst of pain and doubts, that hope began to emerge again. Not as a certainty but as a possibility. The future was uncertain, but what I knew was that I was no longer alone. Perhaps in the end what I needed most was to believe that, even with the mistakes, there was still room to start over. Life, I learned, is not made of perfect endings. There is no grand closing with applause and fireworks. But perhaps, over the course of ordinary days, it's the small new beginnings that really matter. Adrian and I went through months of rebuilding. It wasn't easy, and there were times when I almost gave up. Every new mistake, every word unspoken, felt like a wall that rose between us. But little by little, the broken pieces of our relationship began to fall into place. Sometimes it was just a more sincere look, a truer touch. Others, it was a shared silence, where no words needed to be spoken, but the presence of the other said it all. I found myself trusting again, not absolutely, but renewedly. He was there every day trying, and so did I. The forgiveness was not immediate. nor unconditional. It was a daily choice, a decision not to let the past dominate the present. Deep down, I knew that love wasn't about not making mistakes. It was about trying even when shame and pain paralyze us. It was about finding the courage to start over, without guaranteeing that the ending will be perfect, but trusting that the healing process is worth it. On an ordinary afternoon, as the wind beat on the windows and the children played in the garden, Adrian turned to me with a genuine smile. "I love you, Freya. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm here for whatever comes and goes." I smiled with a light heart. There were no more empty promises. Only now. And perhaps tomorrow was just an extension of what we choose to be today. What remained was the confidence that, together, we could face anything. Let us know what you think of this story and share it with your friends. It might brighten their day and inspire them. See you in the next exciting story.